Welcome to this final revision before October trial. We're going to start with the last question in this revision, the last question, which has to do with the rhetorical synthesis question type. And usually the rhetorical synthesis questions, are friendly ones. But lately or recently, they end up being a little bit complicated, especially those questions asking you about a certain quotation. Okay, like this one. The student wants to connect. So this is the first element, key element, to connect the quotation, okay, from Sherman to increase the UK's urban population during the Industrial Revolution. Okay, now you guys need the first step. You need to know this quotation. You need to know this quotation and the elements related to this quotation. Okay, so we have here the quotation here. It's written here. The only quotation is located at the end of the notes. As we said before, most of the time, we don't need to read the notes unless you get stuck among several answer choices, or you can't exactly understand the question prompt, or the question prompt is containing or referring to a quotation. Okay, you need to refer back to the notes to know the quotation is about what, its tone, its elements. So here, when I get back to the notes, I found out that, okay, since we're gonna check the quotation, we have to have a look at the notes, okay? During the Industrial Revolution, blah, 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 the number of people living in urban areas of the UK grew substantially. Okay, they are growing. Urbanization occurred as large segments of the country's rural population relocated to cities to support the burgeoning. Burgeoning is one of the SAT words. Burgeoning, yani growing, developing, manufacturing industry. So write this, please, growing. And industrial city of Manchester, England, experienced the most population growth. So we're talking here about Manchester, which experienced the most population growth, 2000%. A comparison of a 1746 map of Manchester with maps of the city from the late 1800s reflects the city's expansion. Now we're ready to understand the quotation. According to historian Donna Sherman, these maps present a powerful visual representation of the transformation of Manchester's landscape. And here, guys, I could have read this part only, but you wouldn't have understood these maps are referring to what. That's why the words like the pronouns like these and this and those and any pronoun takes you back to what has been mentioned earlier in order to be able to relate and comprehend and understand the information well. These maps present a powerful visual representation of the transformation of Manchester's landscape. Okay, so now I'm talking about, in this quotation, I refer to these maps, and mainly a reference to Manchester with and its maps before and after the revolution. Okay, so let's see, because these maps present a powerful visual representation, because obviously they are maps. Now I'm ready to go for the process of elimination. Sherman claims that maps of Industrial Revolution, Manchester, England, present a powerful visual representation of the transformation of Manchester's landscape during a time period in which the UK experienced a substantial 2000 percent in increased population. If you can remember, we read this percent with Manchester, not UK. So this is wrong data. Okay, this is wrong data. Okay, yes. So let me. Okay, so letter A has wrong data. Letter B, rural populations relocating to cities like Manchester created a phenomenon that Sherman describes as a powerful visual representation of how the UK transformed during the Industrial Revolution. Here, there is something missing. Also, we are not talking about UK, all of UK, and in the text, I'm talking about UK's urban population. That's one. The second reason, there are no ties to maps. Where are the maps? Because these maps are the ones that present a powerful visual representation. So no reference to maps. So this one wasn't a good choice. Letter C, Sherman claims that the period maps of the UK present a powerful visual representation of how the country's rural landscape was transformed. Obviously, that was about, the maps were mainly about Manchester. Okay, so it's not about the UK. Here, letter D, the sizable growth in the UK's urban population during the Industrial Revolution is reflected in before and after maps that present, in Sherman's view, a powerful visual representation of how the increase transformed Manchester. Yes, that's the perfect answer. I covered all the elements of the key elements of the question prompt. You see here, UK's urban population. When I say UK's urban population, it's definitely different from UK only. Okay. Yes, so this one was a hard pal. Please take care and notice exactly what you need to do in order to handle such hard questions. Student wants to use a quotation. Yes, that's also a quotation question from Bonilla to explain Smith's motivation for curating the show. Curating means organizing. Curating means organizing. So I want to use, let me highlight the main elements. He wants to use a quotation, one quotation from Bonella to explain Smith's motivation for curating the show. So these are the key elements I need to rely on to find the best answer choice. And obviously, motivation is so positive. So you guys have to care about all the words that can have a strong connotation or a strong tone, positive, negative, curating, of course, and the show. Okay, now these are the best ones. I told you you have to check the quotations, okay, especially that you guys have several ones, okay? Definitely they're gonna use this quotation, for example, despite the fact that it's not يعني mentioned by Bonella, it was mentioned by Smith, so it's gonna be for a wrong answer, definitely. Okay, so you can have a quick review of the notes as long as you have the word quotation here. So Smith called the exhibition a visual commentary on the Columbus quincentennial, if you want to know its meaning, it's the 500th anniversary of Columbus' first voyage to the Americas. So quincentennial is the 500th anniversary of that event from the perspective of America's first people. So this is the quotation that is said by Smith, not by Bonella. Okay, in a 2020 article, art historian Ariel Bonella analyzed the Smith response to Columbus quincentennial celebration. Bonella, this one starts her first quotation. Smith used her curatorial organizational role to create a counter narrative visualizing the Native American survival of Colombian conquest. So obviously, guys, this quotation is related to is explaining Smith's motivation for curating the show. Hey, Smith used her curatorial role, organizational role, to create counter narrative visualizing the Native American survival of Colombian conquest. The other quotation Smith's show was disinterested. Disinterested is negative in financial gain as a primary or even secondary motivation. So this one is a negative one. So anything related to this quotation is gonna be an incorrect answer. Like this one. This one is related to the part that has this interest. According to Bonella, Smith was disinterested. I'm not going to continue. I want the motivation. I want the positive one. According to her, Smith curated the exhibition to create a counter narrative in response to the Columbus quincentennial, one focused instead on Native American survival. That's perfect. And the last one here, according to her, Smith curated this one as a visual. It's not the quotation that I've just read. It doesn't have the main elements of the quotation that I have read. It can be related to something else, but not the quotation. So you guys, when you're asked about a quotation, you must read what is before, what is after, what is in the quotation, what is the tone of the quotation for you to get the right answer. Okay, you must read. You must read the quotation. Yani before we used to tell the students you don't have to read the notes. Yes, but these are for the easy and the medium questions. But for the harder questions, that can include quotations and several answers that can confuse you. No, definitely you need to read the notes. And this is كده a trend the College Board lately adopts. Okay, the student wants to contrast, and here also one of the questions that you need in which you need to read which you have to read the notes. Why, teacher? Uh, definitely if it is يعني an easy question, I wouldn't have read the notes. Okay, I will not read the notes, but this one you will find a contrast in each and every answer choice. Here in contrast, here unlike, here okay, this one can be here which depends is on display. Okay, يعني I have two choices that have contrast. Okay, يعني I can eliminate these because they are not showing any contrast. But these two choices have contrast. In contrast to, I have here two sculptures. In contrast to this guy's freedom sculpture, McCracken's diminish and ascend is displayed in a public space. This is a contrast. Here, this guy's freedom sculpture, unlike this guy's diminish and ascend, depicts human subjects. Which one has the right piece of information? When you have two answer choices that can be displaying a contrast between two sculptures, then you must have a wrong piece of information in one of them. So if you look here, this guy, you have to check. You have to check. You see, here, this sculpture is displayed along a public sidewalk. Here, the other one is displayed in a public botanical garden. So this one is wrong. This one is wrong. I'm saying in contrast to this one is displayed in a public place. Both of them are in public places. So letter B is the right answer. So by the process of elimination and by checking the notes, خلاص, you can come or reach the right answer. The student wants to make a distinction, that's one, make a distinction between the two Portland traditions, okay? Two Portland traditions, 3, and here 4. Okay, now I have here unlike, distinction. Distinction means difference, okay? Here unlike, here different. Here we have while, here we have unlike. Basically, you have contrast in all the 4 answer choices. The College Board, guys, is forcing you to refer to the notes. It is forcing you to refer to the notes, okay? Because there must be something wrong or a piece of information that is incorrect in the 3 answer choices or any of them, so that we can go for the right answer. So we need to check. We have to check. You don't have any other choice. So Gabriel, whoever was a 15th century Majorcan cartographer of Portolan charts. Okay. Domenico was a 15th century Venetian cartographer of Portolan charts. So these are 2 people. These are 2 people. Portland charts were definitely, I don't want the people. I don't want people. I want to make a distinction between the 2 Portland traditions. Portland charts were early nautical charts that mapped the waterways of the Mediterranean Black Seas. Okay, Portland charts in Venetian tradition tended to be sparse in illustrations. Sparse in illustrations. So here, according to the Venetian tradition, the Portland charts tended to be sparse in illustrations, rare. They don't have illustrations. Those in a major tradition tended to be richly illustrated. Richly illustrated. So there is a difference. In Majorcan charts, the Atlas Mountains are depicted as palm tree, and the Tagus River is depicted as Shepherd's Crook. Okay, let's go for the process of elimination. Unlike Venetian Portolan charts, which could include illustrations of palm trees and shepherd's crooks, Majorcan charts were sparse in illustration. Look here, if you look here, Majorcan were richly illustrated. So this is the opposite of what is stated in the notes. Being in Majorcan tradition, the Portolan charts of Gabriel, okay, different from those of Venetian cartographer. They told us they are different, but in what way? Make a distinction between the 2 Portland. This one is not making a distinction. It is just telling us they are different. While Portland charts in Majorcan tradition tended to be richly illustrated, those in Venetian tradition mapped the waterways of Mediterranean and Black Seas. Definitely, this one is not the contrast that I'm looking for. Here, Majorcan Portland charts, unlike their sparser Venetian counterparts, tended to be richly illustrated, and this is a distinction between them. So this distinction is not correct or accurate, or not the point that we have here in the text. طيب, now we're gonna move to another type of questions. So hopefully you guys يعني you wrote some tips related to the hard rhetorical synthesis questions. Hopefully you had written some of the tips I mentioned now while handling those hard questions we have just answered. Okay, now let's go for the transition question, this transition question. Definitely you need to memorize, yeah, of course, you must have memorized the relationship that each transition word conveys. Even so, this gives you a concession, which is a part of contradiction. The same here, however, is contradiction. So as a first step, I eliminate A and D. As a first step, I eliminate A and D. Now I have moreover, which is addition, and subsequently, which reflects a sequence. Of course, the sequence will be obviously presented in the text if there is a sequence. And obviously, as you can see, no sequence at all. So I'm left with moreover. This is only, a fast track way of answering these questions by the process of elimination and by quickly noticing the features of the other two choices. So here, while let's read in order to make sure that our answer is correct. Okay, we have, unlike stranded Western maps, which privileged static features like coastlines, the Marshallese stick charts used by Pacific Islands navigators for centuries depicted fluctuating ocean dynamics, such as ocean swells through intricate lattice-like constructions of wood, fibers, and shells. So these Marshallese stick charts, they do a great job. They are unlike standard Western maps. These Marshallese stick charts used by Pacific Islands navigators for centuries depicted fluctuating because they are gonna depict or describe or portray fluctuating ocean dynamics, such as ocean swells through intricate lattice-like constructions of wood, fibers, and shells. These are all important for the navigators to know the state of the ocean dynamics. These stick charts, I'm still talking about the Marshallese charts. This is positive, of course, were memorized prior to a voyage rather than consulted at sea. So they are memorized. Okay, so this is something for their own good, for the navigator's own good. That's positive as well. So it's the same direction. I'm adding a new piece of information to what has been mentioned already earlier. So letter B is the best answer. Now we have, for example, and it's offering an example or moving from general to specific. For me to go for example, I must find the sentence before the blank must be general, and the sentence after the blank should be a specific example of what has been mentioned earlier. Now, I will eliminate conversely and rather as a first step. I know there is a difference between them, but both of them lie under the umbrella of contradiction. One is, okay, contradiction. Moreover is addition, as we said. And my students, of course, they know. Moreover is like same subject, same tone, new idea, which is clearly manifested here when we have Portuguese researcher Isabel Ferreira reports, okay, that the cafe acid in cauliflower mushrooms benefits, so this is positive, the mushroom by combating harmful molecules called the free radicals. Combating like fighting the harmful molecules. That's a great job. Ferriera, which is the same subject, suggests that the acid can promote cellular health in humans, which is positive too. Same subject, same tone, new idea about humans. So letter B is the best answer. Of course, guys, I have some my own tips regarding each group of the transitions. I believe they are never written in any book, but I, like composed them to help my students know the relationships, especially those students who are struggling to understand this very important topic, which is transitions. Actually, I always say that SAT revolves around transitions. The whole reading section or all the reading questions revolve around that transitions. One more question about transitions. Conversely, that's contrast. Okay, and here also contradiction. They lie under the same umbrella. Indeed, emphasis. And in addition, of course, addition, as we discussed it earlier. Indeed means you are stressing the same idea, but adding more details in the same direction with the same pause, with the same tone. So we're gonna see William Dower employed the pseudonym Philo, whoever, a reference to an ancient Roman statesman in political essays he wrote in 1787, a choice that accomplished far more than simply concealing his authorship. So this he used a certain fake name. Pseudonym means a fake name in order to while writing his political essays. Okay. Type. It wasn't an arbitrary pen name. It wasn't like a haphazard pen name, but rather a complex rhetorical strategy through which Doer aligned his federalist views with the venerated means respected, Republican ideals of the ancient world, thereby bolstering the authority of his writing. So as you can see, guys, he had a certain purpose. He didn't choose this fake name haphazardly. Okay, so I am stressing the fact that it was chosen for his political essay on purpose. Okay, so I'm not adding a new piece of information. I'm still talking about the fake name he used and why it was chosen in particular. So it was in the same direction. I'm not adding anything that can be contradicting what has been mentioned. Okay, and I'm stressing the fact that it was chosen for a certain purpose. Let's go for the punctuation and the recently punctuation, punctuation questions, especially in module 2, punctuation questions turn to be a little bit complicated, or they need a bit of concentration from the students in order not to miss their score. Okay, so we're gonna, of course, we call the punctuation questions or the writing questions lying under the fourth domain. The fourth domain, pronouns, plurals and possessives, verb forms, modifiers, punctuation. All of these questions, guys, have the same question prompt, and they are called the one sentence questions. I call them the one sentence questions. So you need only to read the sentence that has the blank. Okay? This hypothesis, while you're reading, please assign the subject. Assign the subject. You must assign the subject. Here, subject. Okay? This hypothesis then Right after the subject, I must find the verb. But since I found here a comma, then this part must be non-essential. Based on comparative analyses of owl drawings made by modern children, huh? Another comma, yes. So as I expected, this is a non-essential part. Is, that's the verb, that's the main verb, is supported by the objects predominantly being crafted from slate. Okay, then a material. Okay, so this is a single dash. This dash is defining what a slate is. A material that. Okay, يعني the sentence keeps giving me non-essential, non-essential, non-essential. A material that, after that, you guys have to write this construction or this structure. We have that, okay? Before that, there must be a noun. And after that, there must be a verb or a new subject. Noun, that, okay, or a new subject. Nothing else, nothing else. And in this structure, you don't have to put any punctuation because that is not punctuated. No punctuation, no punctuation. But as you can see here, because is not a verb nor a subject. Because of it's a preposition. It's a preposition because of it's a preposition. Okay, so this is a prepositional phrase. So what is supposed to be the verb of that? That here is gonna be a subject. Okay, so I found that could is gonna be the could be. This is the verb, so it has to be material that, or a material that could be, okay, with no punctuation at all. Okay, let me write it here in order to for you. That could be. This is supposed to be the case, but they want, of course, SAT want to leave us yani enjoy a peaceful state of mind. So they put for us here a non-essential part, which is because of its malleability. Okay, malleability يعني malleability is the state of يعني something that can be hammered without being broken. يعني you can hammer it and yes, without being broken. Because of its malleability, since I put here that and I separated it from its kind verb, then I must have two what? I must put what? Two identical punctuation marks to mark this as being non-essential. Okay, so the rule here or the structure here, like that, noun, that, non-essential, comma, verb. Okay, that's why I go for B. Nothing else can work because, as you can see, that if it is followed by comma, then there must be a comma, a similar comma before the verb that is related to it. Now, here, of course, when I see being, this is not like a verb that can give me a tense or a singular or plural form. So it's a non-finite. Non-finite. Finite means all of these are finite. Finite because they can work as main verbs. Finite. I can say he's being, he will be, they will be, and so on. They are main, they can be main verbs. But this one is the only one that can't be a main verb. Is it 3-to-1? Yes, 3-to-1 ratio. We all, we are falling in love with this ratio. So we're gonna try the different one first. The different one first. For you to make sure that this is gonna be your lucky choice, you need to make sure that you have what? That you have a subject and a verb and a main verb and everything. And this part is like not from the independent clause. Okay, like here, Argentina. In contrast, Argentina, subject, broke, verb, free from the Spanish Empire in the 19th century, yet still bears its imperial history in its language. Okay, Spanish. Okay, Spanish being spoken. Okay, being spoken, because this part is like extra, non-essential. Okay, a positive, let's say a positive. So the appositive part shouldn't be having an independent, like a main verb. If you will put any of these main verbs, this comma will be a comma splice. Okay, if I put a main verb, this comma will be a comma splice. So I don't want a comma splice. It has here, I have here independent, then comma, then a positive. Okay. Now let's go for another punctuation question. And we guys usually eliminate the semicolon and the period in case they are totally the same. They are totally and typically the same. And since I have a different here, a different word here, so I will not be able to eliminate both of them. But I'm gonna, definitely this is a wrong one. Definitely this is a wrong one, as you can see. As will never make or constitute an independent clause. For me, a period لازم independent here. As an SAT taker, I know very well that a period, for a period to be used, you have to make sure that what is before it is independent, what is after it, you have at least one independent clause. Okay, and this as will not consume. The same thing is for the semicolon. This conjunction is not gonna, make an independent clause for the semicolon. That's why I eliminated it. Now, the SAT likes so much these stop marks, the period, the semicolon, and so on. So I'm gonna try this one first. If I have an independent clause before the period, independent clause after the period, then this is my answer. This is my correct answer. So let's read. It starts from here. A theoretical relationship, that's the subject. Or let me complete, because it might not be the subject. A theoretical relationship between tax rates and revenues, then a comma. Then I have a comma. So this maybe the verb is written later before after a comma. The curve, this is another sub, can be used. Okay, so this is the verb. So this part is gonna be a modifier, an introductory part. Introductory portion, which is a modifier. Why a modifier? Because I have here the subject, a new subject. Like they want to tell us that a theoretical relationship between tax rates and revenues is the curve. That's the curve. So the curve here is the subject, and can be used, that's the verb, to determine whether tax cuts will ultimately increase a country's tax revenue. Okay, according to some economists, I will write this one here. Economists. Then I'll put a period, then the. Okay, the 2017 data suggested that South Korea was below the threshold for a tax cut. Definitely, you must have realized that we're dealing with a new subject, and a verb. and a complete thought. So I have independent, period, independent. So letter D is the best answer. Now, the inference question. The inference question. And the inference questions are very problematic for SAT takers. Most of them, they don't like inference questions. But you guys need to know that the keyword here in the question prompt has to do with logically completes the text. Logically completes the text. You guys has to do it. This type of question has to do with logic. So if you, and has to do with the end of the text, the end of the text. So because this end has to be completed logically. So here, this is the end of the text. So you guys check what the end of the text is talking about, what it talks about exactly. What it talks about exactly. The main elements of the end of the text. طبعا, of course, if the last sentence is short enough, doesn't offer, doesn't provide like much information or many key elements for us to rely on. So I have to get back to the sentence before it as well. Okay, in most of the questions, there will be something that is unclear about the last sentence. So they are forcing you to get backwards a little bit. So this part must be carefully read. Scan. And this part, okay, this part can be skimmed. Read quickly. Read quickly, because there are certain definitions or certain terms that can be defined in this part that can enhance your understanding in the end of the text. Okay, and I'm gonna show you now how I will rely on the key elements of the end of the text. So we focus on the key elements and their tone. Positive or negative, negative or positive, okay? To complete the text logically, I will complete using the same key elements, using the same tone, okay? So let's read the first part. Across brown bears, omnivores with a high dietary plasticity, the information between the two dashes, like it's describing the bears, the brown bears. There is wide variety in dietary mix. Fee variety, words like variety, different, similar, same, and so on, they are very important. So there is a variety, wide variety in dietary mix, which they reflect genetics, local source availability, or social learning. Social learning from what? Cubs stay with their mothers for 2 years or more. So the cubs learn from their mothers what to eat and how to eat. Okay, so there is what? A wide variety in dietary mix. Okay, يعني we have genetics, local resources, and local resource availability, and social what? Learning. Nice, great job. Let's complete. Evaluating the possibilities, Anne Hertel et al. Analyzed 30 years of data on trophic position, indicative of dietary mix for female brown bears. Okay, now she is, introducing what her research. After separation, daughters who tended to settle near their mothers occupied the same trophic positions as their mothers for 2 years. Okay, so the social learning is so strong, you can take notes, guys. You can take notes to simplify the text for yourselves in order to avoid rereading and wasting time. Okay, here for example the social learning اللي هي دي cops stay with their mothers. Okay, strong for 2 years. Of course, you can write in your scratch paper, but يعني in the form of what? In the form of letters, symbols, anything that can help you quickly. طيب, but the correlation disappeared by year 5. Okay. Then got weaker by time. اللي هو ايه؟ by year 5. Okay, nice. Trophic correlation with unrelated individuals in similar habitats was modest, while habitat-independent correlation with non-maternal relatives, اللي هي cousins, was no different than with unrelated individuals. So here I'm talking about the correlation with unrelated individuals. Okay, unrelated individuals. So we have here genetics, unrelated individuals in similar habitats was modest, while habitat-independent correlation with non-maternal relatives, the cousins, was no different than with unrelated individuals. So I'm talking here about the social learning, genetics also, because if they are related, then they have common genetics or genes or whatever. So genetics is not that strong. Okay, طيب. What else? These findings suggest, all of these findings can suggest. The word suggest here, I told you that suggest like so much to have the word may, might not, likely, and so on. So here we have may. We have may here, so it's getting harder because, and we have may here. Here it's extreme language. I will not take it. I don't have any extreme language. Plus, it doesn't suggest. يعني it doesn't offer a suggestion. It's giving you is best understood. This is not a suggestion. Okay, that's extreme. And of course, you guys have the features of wrong answers, one of which is the extreme language is a sign of a wrong answer. طيب, for 95% of the questions. طيب, here may, okay, nice. Social learning, I will see بقى, and I will eliminate the ones that are not related to the elements I have mentioned here in the end of the text. Social learning and resource fluctuations may both play a role in dietary mix among females, at least temporarily, though genetic factors appear to make a significant contribution. I'm sorry, this is wrong, because genetics can be modest, okay? Modest. And also here, both play a role in dietary mix. I have here the social learning, not the resource fluctuations. This one weren't mentioned. Resource fluctuations. Right, let's go for growing dissimilarity between mothers and their daughters with regard to dietary mix may reflect changes in the resources available in maternal habitats, though social learning could also contribute to the trend. Growing dissimilarity between mothers and their daughters. How this similarity with regard to dietary mix may reflect the changes in the resources available. Has no relation between the dissimilarity between mothers, and we when we talked about mothers and daughters, we were talking about a very strong similarity or correlation for the first 2 years. Okay, but here growing dissimilarity between mothers and their it's not about dissimilarity. Okay, and it's not the change that it doesn't reflect the changes in the resources available in maternal habitats, though social learning could also contribute to the trend. No, social learning is getting weaker. Okay, weaker. So letter B is wrong, and letter C is wrong, and so I'm left with letter D. Okay, letter D. When I say dietary mix among females may reflect a social learning effect that eventually diminishes. Eventually means at the end, يعني after a while, at the end. Yes, at year 5 diminishes, weakens, though environmental constraints cannot be ruled out as a contributing factor. Yes, because here we said earlier, إنه genetics, local resources, resource availability, or social learning, all of these are affecting. فهير they are talking about the females and the mothers and the daughters. Yes, social learning affects, as well as environmental constraints. Yes, this was mentioned already. These findings suggest that. Okay, so by the process of elimination, even if you're not sure about the right answer, by the process of elimination, you guys need, كمان I mentioned habitats. I mentioned habitats in the end of the text. That's why all the elements are mentioned here. طيب, let's go for this one. This one also is an inference question. An inference question. Apply the same technique. Apply the same technique. Go with the end of the text. And you have here also, go with the same, like here, all fruit-eating bird species native to Ohio have gone extinct, suggesting that, okay, this, as you can see, is not enough for me to understand. So I have to go further a little bit earlier. Many of these vulnerable, blah, 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 okay? So I have to focus on these two sentences, okay? But you need to read what is before or skim quickly, okay? The hawamai and other fruit eating birds. So these are eating bird species. Introduced to the Hawaiian island of Ohio in the last 150 years, have recently been found to spread seeds from the fruits of forest plants native to Ohio that are at risk of extinction. يعني these fruit-eat bird species, okay, that were introduced to the Hawaiian island of Ohio من 150 years have recently been found to spread seeds. يعني they were found to spread seeds from the fruits of forest plants, from the native fruits native to Ohio that are at risk of extinction. So those fruit-eating bird species are doing a great job to do what? To save the fruits, okay, at risk of extinction, such as this tree. Many of these, let's focus so well. Let's focus so well. Many of these vulnerable plant species, many of these weak species at risk, rely on the activity of fruit-eating birds. They rely so much on them to help spread the plant seeds in the wild for them not to be extinct. All fruit-eating bird species native to Ohio have gone extinct. Have gone, all of the native fruit-eating bird species have gone extinct, suggesting that what بقى? That these non-native birds play an important role that used to be filled by birds that were native to Ohio. That's right. These birds are not native to Ohio. They were introduced only 100 in the last 150 years only. They were not native. So they are filling or playing an important role that was used to be filled by the birds that went extinct. Yes, that's right. Absolutely right. Non-native birds such as this one will also be at risk of extinction if they lose access to No, of course, this is a feature of a wrong answer. This is a feature, the if structure is a feature of a wrong answer because I don't have this feature here. The populations of this bird and other non-native birds will probably soon experience rapid growth. This is a future reference. Future, not suggested. I mean, we are not talking about such the population of these birds, whether they are gonna grow or not. What is the reference to the seeds, the reference to the plants, the reference to the role they play, not the growth of their population. Non-native birds such as this one now spread more seeds, more, take care when you have more than. It's invalid comparison, a feature of a wrong answer. Invalid comparison. Now spread more seeds from this tree than birds native to Ohio. The birds native to Ohio got extinct already. So this invalid comparison. So you guys sometimes, this is an inference question, but technically you have 3 features of wrong answers in the 3 wrong answers. The first feature of wrong answer, conditional if. If you don't have conditional if here, then conditional if is a feature of a wrong answer. If we don't have a future reference here, okay, for the element mentioned here as a focus, then it's what? A feature of a wrong answer. If you don't have a comparison, the point of comparison is not stated in the end of the text, then the comparison is invalid. So we're left with the last 3 questions for this revision, and they are all hard questions. Inference 1, this is an inference 1 as well. Apply, please, the same technique, and it's gonna work with you, inshallah. That's the end, but it's not complete. Of course, we need to complete it. We will go for further or earlier. Yes, from here. So we need to scan this part and its main elements with its tone and skim the beginning of the text in order to understand, or as I told you, to enhance our understanding for the other part. Skim. There is a growing belief that teaching medical students about art alongside the standard science and the clinical crosswork helps them become more observant. That's positive. While you're reading, please, bear in mind that you have to write or to take notes or simplify or refer to whether what you're reading is positive or negative. Develop greater patient empathy and strengthen their communication skills. That's absolutely positive. So teaching them art alongside with the standard science and clinical coursework helps them do a lot of things. But this is a contradiction, but some medical program educators are skeptical. That's negative. Questioning if arts and humanities experiences can be clearly shown to have any worthwhile advantages for their students. They are doubting. Doubts. Okay, the most important part, what is gonna say? Research into the effectiveness of arts programs for medical students by those guys found that evidence is largely anecdotal. Anecdotal, has to do with anecdotes, stories, and based on studies that were short in duration, limited to single institutions, or restricted to small numbers of students. Okay. They are saying that the evidence is largely anecdotal and based on studies that were short in duration. These positive results, okay, are anecdotal. Some said that as like narrating their experience, and based on studies that were short in duration, it's not long enough to have reliable results. كمان limited to single institutions, only very limited, or restricted to small numbers of students, so the samples of the students are insufficient. To strengthen now, I changed the tone. To strengthen the evidence base in support of incorporating humanities into the coursework for medical students, then in order to strengthen, we must do what? We must overcome these shortcomings. يعني they must be longer in duration, more institutions can be involved, more numbers of students can be participating. This is how logically you guys can complete the text, because you want to strengthen the evidence to support the incorporation of humanities and art. So institutions may need to provide medical students with exposure to larger numbers of artworks than have been used in previous studies. So it's talking about artworks only. I told you more than. You have to be skeptical about the comparison then. Okay, this is not right, because you're talking about larger numbers of artworks than have been used. Why? We have several factors. Why larger numbers of artworks? How about humanities? Researchers must prove wrong. That's very what? A very strong obligation, which is extreme. So it's a feature of a wrong answer as well. As long as you don't define the must here, then must is a feature of a wrong answer. And my students know all of that. So you guys can be writing it as a note. Medical schools should highlight more student testimonials about how arts education benefits their clinical abilities. More student testimonials, no reference plus يعني should and must are so يعني forceful, as long as we don't have here. Large scale, yes. Multi-institutional, yes. Tracking outcomes for medical students over longer periods, yes. So technically, these elements are the improved version of short duration, limited single institutions, restricted the small numbers of students. So in order to strengthen, you have to offer the opposite. More duration, more students, more multi-institutional research studies, and so on. Here, this is an textual evidence question, textual. Also, one of the question types that you guys don't prefer, or many of you don't prefer, textual evidence question. And it's usually these questions start with which quotation, which statement, which finding, and they require you to illustrate or support, or weaken and undermine. Okay, so here illustrates means support. And since we're dealing with a narrative, so the claim is written here. This claim, you have to match the best answer to the claim, with the claim. Match the best answer to the claim. The more, the better. I always use quotations, okay, in order to resonate in my students' minds. The more, the better. The more an answer choice has elements from the claim, okay, from the claim. Okay, this is the claim. I want to illustrate the claim. This is the claim at the end of the text. So in the work, this author explicitly indicates, one, indicates two, when and how, three and four. When and how she is shifting the focus of the narrative as when she writes. As when she writes, you see as the is equal. So I want to match to match these 7 elements to the best answer choice that can cover these elements. The more, the better. The more main elements in an answer choice, the better this answer choice is. So let's go for reading the choices. Nothing happened during the day, and after a while, mother told us not to say a word about why we left, for grandpa might get mad with us. No shifting, no indicating when and how she is shifting the focus of the narrative of her story. My dear readers, such is the respect my people have for their chiefs. No shifting, no. But how can I describe the scene that followed? Some of you, dear readers, can imagine. No shifting. I will now stop writing about myself and my family and tribe customs and tell about the wars. So there is the shift from writing about herself and family to writing about the wars